Hey everybody, this is Kirsten here again. Thank you so much for joining me for this new episode of the Balanced Vibes podcast. I am batch recording today, making a couple of episodes available for you. I hope you find them helpful and useful. Today we're going to talk about if it is necessary to track your food and track your macros if you have a fat loss, weight loss goal, or can you do it another way? Is it absolutely necessary that you have to track? So this is what we're going to dig into today. But before that, I wanted to invite you to join my free Facebook group, which is called Fit and Fueled. So what is going on in this group? There's a lot. There's a lot of fun stuff going on in this group. So we have a lot of discussions about food and fitness and macros and resistance training, maybe a little bit of body image, maybe a little bit of confidence, chat there every now and then. So I hope you join this Facebook group. I am also there live once every week, usually on Mondays. I will do a live chat on whatever topic that has been, that people have been asking me or I've been getting questions about or have been having good conversations about with my clients, and I feel like this is important to share. So this is something that's not going to be anywhere else. It's not going to be on my Instagram or Instagram stories. This is going to be only in the Facebook group, and it would be fun to have you there. Right now there's about 150 women, and I hope that by the time when this episode airs, there's going to be even more, and that you're going to be there as well. So the link to my Facebook group, which is, by the way, totally free, is everywhere. It is in my YouTube description. It is in the show notes. It is also on Instagram. When you click there, the link in my bio, you'll find the link to my Facebook group as well. Okay, so today let's talk about if it is necessary to track your food and track your macros if you have a weight loss and fat loss goal. And let's talk about it because tracking is not always for everybody. A lot of people don't like it. They don't enjoy it. It can be hard to learn. It takes a lot of time at first. Later, it does not. It actually becomes really easy. But at first, it may feel like, I just don't want to do it. Is there a better way? Is there an easier way? At the same time, actually, there are a lot of people who do enjoy it. Maybe you cannot believe this if you absolutely hate weighing and tracking and logging and putting things into your app. You're like, I cannot believe that there's anybody who enjoys any of that stuff. But believe me, there are a couple of people that come to mind right now who have been working with me for a long time. And even after we stopped working because they got to their goal, they're still tracking because they just feel fine. It doesn't feel like work for them. One of my clients told me when I asked, she's still working with me, but I asked her if she wants to in the future let go of tracking, and she said, I really don't mind this. It really works well with my numbers brain. And I'm like, okay, cool, all for it. If you want to do this, people are different. So it's not anybody's place to judge, like, oh, this person is obsessed, she's always tracking, or, oh, I can't believe this person doesn't want to track, how is she expecting to get results? Everybody's different. So let's just respect that and be cool with that. But I think there are some ways also to get our fat loss, weight loss started if we don't necessarily want to track, because not everybody does. And I think there are a couple of different scenarios where we can get a good starting point even without tracking. So this is what I want to talk about today. And in case you're wondering, like, why is she talking about this? Isn't macro tracking that she does and wants everybody to do because that's her job? And that actually what I want the most is that you are healthy, that you have the healthy weight, you have the healthy, comfortable body composition. And I just want you to get there in a healthy way, right? I don't want you to do any crazy, nuts, stupid diets. Of course, already that. But I also don't want you to feel like you absolutely have to track if there are some other, like, smaller, easier, simpler things that you could do before that. So let's talk about a couple of scenarios where I think that you could get started with your fat loss, weight loss, and see a little bit of results even before you start tracking. Okay, so the first thing is that if you are a person who is currently eating out a lot, maybe like 5 times a week or even more than that, and eating also a fair amount of processed foods, for example, and you don't cook at home almost at all or just a couple of things, then the number one step for you would be to start learning how to cook at home and how to make super simple meals that are very easy and fast and quick to make, because usually people don't have a ton of time in their hands. And this is already a really great starting point, because by doing that, you are already reducing a lot of calories, because there's so much like so many calories in the restaurant foods. If you have ever worked in a restaurant, you know that I have worked in a restaurant, and these are the years where I gained the most weight. These were the couple of first years into college. So this is what I did, and restaurants really use a lot of cooking oils. And also, when you start cooking more at home, you may feel like, oh yeah, my jeans are getting a little looser. I'm actually feeling better. I'm definitely losing a little bit of body fat and a little bit of body weight. You also feel like you just feel physically better because you are now avoiding some of the ingredients that can be more inflammatory, more like seed oils. Many restaurants, some restaurants use MSG, things like that you don't put in your food when you cook at home. And you're going to feel better in so many ways. I really can't think of any downsides of cooking at home other than there's just a little bit more variety. I think everybody likes to eat out once in a while. Most people, I certainly do. And I do maybe once, maybe twice a week. I think it's fun to have like after hike burger. We always do that. It's cool. But I think if you're mostly at home and you haven't done this yet, you've been eating out a lot, you've been eating a lot of processed foods, then that simple shift alone will help you to get started with weight loss and fat loss. Okay. Now, next thing is that if you're somebody who just likes to snack a lot of like sweet things and treats and like high calorie things, and or likes to have alcohol fairly often, maybe like 3, 4, 5 times a week, you may just feel like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna cut back on those, not completely eliminate them, but cut back on those, and that alone can also make your weight loss, fat loss, just get started with it. Because those snacky things and alcohol definitely have a good amount of calories. And when you just start paying attention to that and set yourself some limits there. So for example, maybe instead of having wine 5 nights a week, I'm going to cut it back to 2 nights a week. Or instead of having tortilla chips every single night with my dinner, just because I like something crunchy and snacky, you're going to tell yourself, I'm going to have it a couple of times a night. Or instead of having 5 handfuls of it, I'm going to have 1, or I'm going to have like 10 pieces, something like that. That also then quickly reduces the amount of calories that you are taking in. And for example, one of the people that I know who does that is my sister. I don't know that she has ever tracked anything with the tracking app or macros or any of that. This is literally what she does. So she might come back from a vacation and it's like this all-inclusive thing and went a little crazy, put on a little bit of weight, and she comes back and it's like, you know what? I'm just going to cut back on alcohol, and now I'm going to have, she likes beer. I'm going to have 1 beer a week. Like on Saturdays, this is what I'm going to have. Or I'm not going to have chocolate every night now. I'm going to have it once a night or twice a night. Things like that. And she's really able to do this, and she's really good at this. And of course, the weight then starts coming down. And this is another really easy way for you to just take in less calories. So pay attention to it. If you are a snacker, if you have like a handful here and there, you're just not even paying much attention to it. When you think about it later, you're like, oh yeah, actually I do it every day. And then just reduce that, and you don't even have to track anything. You start seeing your body weight and body fat going down. The next thing is that if you are sort of like a mindless overeater, right? Sometimes it might be like an emotional thing. You are feeling sad or bad about something, and then you just eat. That kind of gives you the sense of like soothing, although it actually at the end of the day, it didn't fix your issue, whatever it was. Or maybe you're just eating out of the habit, or maybe you're eating in front of the TV. These are all the things to pay attention to. So if you find that there's always a certain emotion, of course you have to become very self-aware and kind of like having, like paying attention to what you're doing. Then you have to learn how to deal with this emotion, or like find out, okay, this is the trigger, this is the trigger here again, and I have to be mindful of that. I just started laughing because Tigger, my husband's parents had a cat whose name was Tigger, and we talk about him sometimes. So anyways, if you have a trigger like that, you have to pay attention to that and really be mindful when like emotion of sadness makes you overeat. Then maybe you are eating in front of the TV. You're not even paying attention to that. Like you're having a bag of tortilla chips or chips or nuts or whatever. You're just sitting in front of the TV and munching, 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 munching. This is also mindless overeating, and you have to catch yourself in these moments. Again, this is your trigger, and pay attention to it and tell yourself, set a boundary there. I cannot do this, or like not that hard way, but I cannot eat like the whole bag. Okay, I'm gonna have less of that, or I'm not gonna have it maybe today. Maybe you have some other kind of like a habitual thing that you do, and you're not even paying attention that you're eating while you're doing this. And for me, between, when was it, a couple of years ago, like 2017, 19, when I gained a good amount of weight, something that I had learned to do was eating in my car all the time. Like I would come back from teaching my evening boot camp and come back and then buy either those limoncello almonds, if you know what I'm talking about, really good, those, or tortilla chips. And then my drive home was maybe like 10, 15 minutes. I would just eat them in the car without even asking if I actually want that. So that's another thing, right? Like paying attention to your fullness signals and also asking, do I really want that? Because some of the things become just so habitual that you just eat. And this is where the extra calories come from. This is where the extra energy comes from. So I remember for me too, the same thing during those years that I just mentioned. I would make like a really good homemade meal, and then I would just go back and get more, and then go back a second time or maybe a third time and get more and more and more. And this is how the calories, went high, because I was not paying attention. I never asked like, oh, do I actually need this? Am I already full? Can I stop now? There's no kind of like a conversation like that. It was just mindless eating. So another situation where tracking may not be even necessary is that if you are currently not even paying attention to your protein at all, but you just know, if you learn what the high protein foods are, you're like, you know what, I don't think I'm having too much of that. So just starting to increase protein without even tracking, because as you know, protein is really important for your satiety and for your fullness and for muscle building and reducing cravings and improving your blood sugar balance. So literally just start thinking about, am I getting about palm size of protein with every single one of my meals? And you probably don't. If you have never thought about it before, then you probably don't. And start doing it. So start thinking, what is going to be my palm-sized piece of protein tomorrow at breakfast? What is going to be tomorrow at lunch? And then at dinner? What is this going to be? And you don't even have to track, like I said. You can just literally think about that, and you start noticing that if you prioritize protein and also preferably eat that first from your plate, then you're just going to have less desire to eat all these other things, or you're just fuller longer and you end up reducing your calorie intake. Now, who then needs tracking? So, of course, if you are already doing all these things, like you're eating mostly at home and you're not maybe even like snacking a ton, or you don't think that you're snacking a ton, you think that you're pretty aware of your emotions and then your triggers, but still you're not seeing results. Well, this is the point where I would now say that, yes, let's use the tracker, and let's put into the MyFitnessPal what you are actually eating. Because you know what? You can be cooking all your meals at home, but that doesn't mean that these meals are calorie-free meals, right? Because you could be eating homemade pizza, and you could be eating homemade ice cream, and you could be drinking homemade wine, but this is not a guarantee that these are low-calorie foods, and this is going to lead to weight loss and fat loss. And this is where I encourage people to track their food, put it in everything they eat for 5 days, and without cheating, without starting to leave out the things that they normally eat, just that because they want to see like how their log looks really good. No, you're going to put in what you actually eat, what you would intuitively eat, what you ate yesterday when you were not tracking yet, what you ate then, and continue eating this way so that you can get an accurate picture of what is going on. No cheating, okay, actually doing it. Sometimes I even tell people, you can write it on a piece of paper, what you've been having with all the amounts, weigh your food, right? And then at the end of the day, put it into the app, because if you do it immediately, you may find that, oh, I had a little too much fat for breakfast. Now I'm going to adjust that and have less at lunch because I feel bad that I had so much. So see how the data starts to become inaccurate. So that's why I say that it actually is a better idea even to write it down on a piece of paper at the end of the day, put it into the app, or even at the end of those 5 days, put it into the app, and then you get a real picture. And now you may find that, oh, okay, my calories are actually high. My calories are actually, 2,800, even though what I actually need is maybe like 2,200. And this is why I have been gaining weight. I just did not know that. Or this is why, my weight has not gone down, and I didn't know it because I thought that all I have to do is eat healthy and eat homemade meals, right? But this is such a good kind of like an eye-opening exercise. And if you don't know how much you should be eating in order to lose body fat, then make sure that you have my Lean 80s Calorie Protein and workout guide, because in this guide I teach you exactly what your maintenance calories are, which is the number of calories that you should be able to eat and not gain or lose weight, and then also how much you should be eating if you have a weight loss goal. There's a deficit that you need to do, and what is that deficit going to be? Because what if you need to eat 1,900 in a deficit, but you just don't know it until you do these calculations, and until you have tracked your food and you have found that you're actually doing way, way, way over than that. So this is why it's important to know your numbers. So to sum it up again, first things, start cooking more at home. But if you're eating out a lot right now and you start cooking more at home, you may see fat loss, weight loss results even from that. The second thing is, if you're just somebody who likes to snack a lot or have a couple too many drinks, reducing that amount will also give you results. The next thing, starting paying attention to your triggers and your emotions and kind of like habits. I'm always eating when I'm doing this, right? And catching yourself, and also reducing those moments where you like turn to food to kind of soothe yourself for whatever the reason why it might be. And then finally, if you are doing all these things and everything is great and you're checking in with yourself and you're eating mostly homemade meals, but nothing's changing, then I think it's a good idea to actually track and see, where are we at? What are we doing? And I will always say that tracking is the most guaranteed way to get you results. Otherwise, you may just keep guessing. And because if you haven't gotten results with these first couple of approaches that I mentioned, then the next step would really be tracking. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode and it was valuable to you. So make sure also that you join my Facebook group that I mentioned earlier in the beginning of this episode. And thanks so much for being here. As always, if you have any ideas, if there's any topics you want me to cover on this podcast, I'm all ears. Thanks so much, and see you next time. Bye-bye.